The White House issued a major clarification over the weekend to its new H-1B visa policy that has rattled the tech industry. Officials now say that a $100,000 fee announced by President Trump will be a one-time payment imposed only on new applicants. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick had initially announced that the fee would be paid annually, applying to both new visas as well as renewals. But Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt walked back on that claim on Saturday, just hours before the new rules were set to take effect. All details in this next report.
The Trump administration's new $100,000 fee on H-1B foreign worker visas could have ripple effects on the United States' innovation ecosystem. India's IT industry body NASSCOM warned on Saturday. A White House official said Saturday the new fee structure will first apply to the upcoming H-1B lottery cycle for new applicants, and not to current visa holders or to renewals. The change, which goes into effect on Sunday, marks Washington's highest-profile attempt to overhaul the country's temporary employment visa system. It's a major flashpoint with the tech industry, which contributed millions of dollars to Donald Trump's presidential campaign and relies heavily on skilled workers from India and China. The fee announced on Friday prompted some major U.S. tech firms to advise visa holders to either remain in the country or return before it takes effect. Trump on Friday played down their concerns.
I think they're going to be very happy. Everyone's going to be happy. And we're going to be able to keep people in our country that are going to be very productive people. And in many cases, these companies are going to pay a lot of money for that. And they're very happy about it.
Supporters of the H-1B program say it brings in highly skilled workers essential to filling talent gaps and keeping firms competitive. Critics, who include many U.S. tech workers, argue that it will allow firms to suppress wages and sideline Americans who could do the jobs. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick.
If you're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land. Train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs. That's the policy.
Under the current system, a small fee is required to enter a lottery for the visa, and subsequent fees could amount to several $1,000s. Representing India's $283 billion IT and business process outsourcing industry, NASSCOM warned on Saturday of disruptions. It said the fee could hit the global operations of Indian tech services companies that send skilled professionals to the U.S., adding that the one-day deadline for the new policy created considerable uncertainty for businesses, professionals, and students across the world.
Well, markets have just opened and the IT sector, as expected, is feeling the pain. In fact, stocks of TCS, Infosys, Tech Mahindra, Wipro all reeling in red this morning. Well, some industry experts have noted that they foresee no immediate adverse impact over the next 6 to 12 months as the hikes will take effect only in the upcoming application cycles. But others have cautioned that the delay notwithstanding, there will be a deferred impact requiring eventual reassessment of business strategies by IT companies. Now, that if this rule stays. Meanwhile, of course, we have also shown this data over the weekend, and just to reiterate, Indian tech professionals account for a bulk of H-1B visas, over 70% plus. And according to the USCIS website, for the 2025 fiscal, Amazon topped the list of H-1B visa approvals at over 10,000 applications approved. Now, in the list of the top 10 beneficiaries, TCS has 5,500 plus employees, followed by Microsoft, Meta, Apple, and Google. You also have the likes of Cognizant, JP Morgan Chase, Walmart, as well as Deloitte Consulting, all taking in hordes of applicants in the H-1B program of the United States. Well, we have a special guest joining us this morning, Mr. Prabir Jha, distinguished HR strategist, founder and CEO, Prabir Jha People Advisory. Mr. Jha, just help us put this into perspective. While there has been a clarification which has come in from the U.S. state administration, but the question really is that new applicants, especially those who are likely to graduate in this academic cycle, looking for those IT jobs, the well-paying IT jobs in the U.S., are likely to get impacted, aren't they?
Absolutely. I think, the writing is on the wall, and it has been on the wall for quite some quarters. So I personally don't think it has come as a rude shock. IT companies have been trying to scale down their H-1B anchored feed of the US business. But very clearly, from what has been reported so far, the news cycle is going to be impacted by this, and it will be a big hit. There's no denying that. Uh, but this is also an art of politics. We don't know whether this is really, again, one of those negotiating levers under a larger trade agreement, and whether there is any opportunity of flex, whether the American business is going to finally pass on the excessive costs of running their IT operations onto the end consumer, and whether there will be a political pressure to relook. So we don't know how this will play out. March is still some way out. We have half the year to go. So I will personally believe that I don't think there will be a dramatic turnaround, and there will be therefore some short-term challenges for the Indian IT workers. But in today's world of geopolitics, it's very difficult to predict whether economics will drive geopolitics or the other way around.
You're right, Mr. Jha, and that question mark always looms large. You really don't know whether this $100,000 fee is also going to stick or not. And of course, we might just have a trade deal with the US. Remember, Piyush Goyal is in the United States negotiating that trade deal with the US. We also have External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar meeting his counterpart, Marco Rubio, in the US today. So something may come out in favor of India, but let's assume for a minute that it sticks and this $100,000 fee stays. It is going to prompt a rethink by HR heads in IT companies. But the question really is, are they going to be able to find talent overseas, equally competent talent, of course, far more expensive talent, one would argue, but equally competent talent in the US? Because that is eventually the goal that Donald Trump is running after. He wants to create those jobs for American citizens. But are IT companies or big tech going to find the right quality and the right quantity of IT professionals in the US?
Absolutely, Kartik. That's a question which I've also been thinking about, that it's easier said than done. You can appeal to the jingoism of a nation, but the reality is that it's not just about cost. I honestly don't know whether they will have the kind of technical talent. We are looking at masses here, huge numbers. And I will be surprised that they will overnight be able to get people of the same type available. Forget the economics of it, for their own businesses. But having said that, that pushback will take maybe a realization of a quarter or two, and maybe that's also an opportunity for US to rethink their strategy. But in the near term, I think Indian companies will have to rethink their talent strategy. How are they going to service business? At what cost are they going to service business? How much of a margin hit are they going to take? And most importantly, for Indian IT workers who may not be able to kind of follow their immediate American dream, what options do they have? How would they think different, if at all they will think different? And I think that is an opportunity for both possibilities in India for businesses, and also a challenge for Indian workers. And that, I think, is going to be the bigger short-term thing, because it will be a bit of a shock, and crisis responses could be very varied. And I just hope mature HR handholding would make this a little easier on people.
All right. Mr. Jha, given all that we've seen in way of the disruption that we've seen for the IT sector, overdependence on the US, disruption by way of artificial intelligence, do you think there is, in the long term, in fact, not even the long term now, I would correct myself and say in the immediate term, is there a real need to relook at the professions that Indians want to choose and the careers they want to pursue going forward? Because IT definitely seems to have lost its sheen. And that is one competitive advantage that India has had over decades over counterparts from other parts of the world. Is there a real strategic need to rethink what are the courses that we are offering to our students and what are the careers that they want to pick up?
Absolutely, Kartik. And, we've talked about this in one of your earlier shows. I think the excessive bias we've had, about technology and IT, because it consumed a number of people and it was a source of good foreign exchange earning, made us neglect a lot of other areas and career opportunities. I know pharma has been another very big contributor, particularly from the US perspective. But both for new people seeking opportunities, students graduating, as also people coming back, I think it's a moment where they can actually relook their career anchors. I do a lot of work in the area of careers, and I must admit most of us in India are more societally anchored and do the same kind of courses. They go through the rut. And let me be honest that this entire issue, if you look at it a little more objectively, does not mean that every Indian IT guy who went abroad was a great techie. It was cost arbitrage.
Right.
These guys were not necessarily doing, absolutely the most innovative work. So one, people will have to understand first within IT what really is cutting edge.
Right.
Whether you stay in India and service clients abroad or you do things for India itself, I think this entire underbelly of, generic IT skills is going to be a big wake-up call. There was a time 20 years ago when anyone who could actually just talk IT was being picked up by companies, but that was an absolute body shopping model. Not entirely has it changed. But beyond that, I think this entire obsession with going to the US also is going to be something that will be questioned, both for recent, black swan events that have happened, but also because, see, the generation has now seen a lot more of the world. And I think this entire blind obsession that I want, and especially from some parts of India, to just think that the only way forward is to go abroad, I think is going to change. I
Right.
think they could be looking at other markets. I personally hope and believe that India has huge opportunities if we play our cards right. But most importantly, people will have to rethink what really was driving them to the US. Was it the
Right.
lure of money? Was it the lifestyle? Or was it really the love of technology and science? And that's why understanding of career anchors for each one of them would be
Right.
a very useful tool to think about.
Absolutely, but how long before they find the same quality of life and perhaps the same income levels in India? Well, that's a question that we will keep for a future debate. But Mr. Prabir Jha, as always, pleasure having you here on News9. Thank you so much for your time this morning.